You can keep them down but not out. Is that the right way to say it? Of course, Australia pocketing their first win. I've had a quick change. I poured myself another Foster's in Gujarat. Good to see you, Paji, Mambo. Chiki, 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 cha. How's it going, bro?
I wish
You two continue. I'll stay on mute.
I wish there were other people who were as excited to see me. hopefully,
Bro,
hopefully
you're
that
being
time comes.
modest as ever. You're being modest as ever. But talk to me straight away. Australia winning and winning clinically, Gurkirat. I mean, are you happy, sad? Sum up your emotions right now.
Yeah, see, if I was a Sri Lankan fan today, I'd be very very annoyed with how things panned out. I mean, I don't think the game could have started in a better manner than what it did for Sri Lanka. Even Kusal Pereira was scoring runs, who hadn't. So from there to not being able to carry on and just reach score 210, it's disappointing. uh, we had spoken about the 3-4-5 doing well today. The openers did well, but the 3-4-5 did not kick on. So it's if you just look at how the three Sri Lankan games have happened, one area or the other, or one department or the other, has let them down so much that they've just ended up losing the game. In the first game it was the bowling. Second game, you could say, they got they got wickets with the new ball, but then again the bowling was poor. And today I don't think the bowlers had a chance, because the score wasn't enough. Madhu Shankar tried his best, but again, no real support for him. Lahiru Kumarash, very very disappointing. It's one thing to bowl at pace, but you cannot bowl those lines. The lengths I can still understand. If you are playing after some time, you're still trying to figure out. But all those lines were something which were just asking to be hit. So disappointing. Disappointing day as a Sri Lankan fan. I think Australia will take a lot of heart from this win. Cummings got wickets. Both Nikhil and I got our X factors right. So yeah, good on that front. A good call for both of us. And I think both of us made a gut call, but Australia will take a lot of heart because Zampa was back amongst the wickets. Even though there were phases you felt he was not bowling well, but then just got into the act straight away. So Australia will really take a lot of heart from this win.
Yeah, Nikhil got more than just the X Factor, right? Because he was telling me about his fantasy picks and flexing his muscle as ever. Nikhil, good to see that. But before that, like and subscribe if you guys are new. And there's a sumptuous stat to kick things off in this post-match review of Australia Sri Lanka. Because every time we think about Australia Sri Lanka ODI World Cup, our mind automatically goes back to 1996 World Cup in that Pakistan menu, wherever that they played. But since then, they haven't beaten them, yard in World Cup history. What's happening, Nikhil?
Yeah, see,
Oh,
just
Gurkirat?
before Nikhil takes on, just one thing. Everyone talks about the '96 World Cup final, but almost everyone forgets that Australia got sort of that revenge in 2007 World Cup final. No one actually talks about that World Cup final. But yeah, now Nikhil can go on.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, see, 99 and after that, it was almost like an autopilot. So it's not going to be something that's going to be easy. I think today they had their best chance, and they had their best chance with both bat and ball. Even after posting 191, even after posting that score, you had a chance when you had those double wicket made. But what do you end up from the other end? You end up conceding so many runs that that one guy who's probably bowling his life out, he hasn't had any support, and that's the story of Sri Lanka since a long time now. And again, it's you need different people to step up. Uh, I will not fault Kusal Mendes much today because again didn't have enough runs, but not helped by the bowling. As Padi rightly said, you can't have a guy spraying it around, and he's not a newbie. So if a guy is doing his best by giving you two very big wickets, I mean, how many bowlers would give you whatever they have to get Smith and Warner around in 1 over? And then if you end up considering so many runs at the other end that you just outbatted, and then English had a day out, good 50 to take up, and feel good about himself, which is good. Or sure, I will take that. So to go from 125 for zero to that score, and then to still have them three down for not so much and end up losing, I think Sri Lanka will know that they have left a lot of things out there. Uh, I don't know how they can correct it because they had Thikshina, they had Vilalage, but Chamika, again, too far less to do. They just have to find more. the thing that was working for them in Asia Cup, different people stepping up, it's happening again. But then they aren't getting enough support from the other end. So that is something that they'll have to look and dig deep into.
Yeah, absolutely. Sri Lanka still have their absolute misfortunes, and I say misfortunes because they've been plagued by injuries, and ever since that Siraj
Yeah.
six for, which left them absolutely hiding in the Asia Cup final, they haven't been able to find their mojo. Lots of people getting in the chat, which is always good to see. Bad captaincy saying Babarab update, and Abbas Kundi saying bye. First thing discusses about umpiring. We'll get to the umpiring, we'll get to the turning point, we'll get to, of course, all the other things that we normally discuss in the review as well. And Babarao Apte saying Nikhil is still not out of the India Park joy. Why wouldn't he be? I mean, honestly, let's savor it, man. No worries about that.
Yeah, I'm always smiling, and I'm even more smiling after after Afghanistan win. So you rarely see me angry or frustrated.
No, indeed. Now, Australia play Pakistan next, Gurkirat. How much does this win give them a little shot in the arm going ahead in the competition? Like you mentioned, they've got the job done, but now it's onwards and upwards, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they also play them in Bangalore, which is a pitch you would expect, Australia should welcome because it may not have that much grip. And even though Zampa is not bowling well, you'd expect the combo of or the duo of Zampa and Maxwell to outbowl Shadab and Nawaz. That is one thing that you expect. The only worry could for Australia could be those right-handers versus Nawaz, but it's a venue that Warner should enjoy, and again it's a venue which doesn't have huge boundaries, so any sort of mistake from the bowler could easily be punished. And the way Marsh batted today, the way Inglis batted today should really give Australia a lot of confidence going into that game because Shaheen's not picking wickets in the power play. He got that wicket of Gill, but let's be honest, that wasn't a great delivery. If anything, that was another delivery that should have been smashed for four. And it just came off very well off the bat, but it was down to a very good catch. So Shaheen's not taking wickets in the power play. So Australia now should feel good about themselves. But at the same time, what should worry Australia is that after that India game, they've not really got wickets in the power play. So that is something that should again concern them. And while Maxwell's form is welcome and with the ball, but the gulf between Maxwell and other bowlers is way too big right now. It shouldn't be that case. Maxwell should be a bonus in terms of bowling, or he should at best be a good support bowler. But as of now, it seems like whenever Australia is looking for any control, they go to Maxwell. He was introduced in the eighth over, if I'm not wrong, today, or the ninth over. So it's both a reflection of how good Maxwell has become as a white ball bowler, which is something I felt could really happen in this World Cup. And you could also give credit to Australia for this because Maxwell has been doing a lot of bowling for them. When they came to Sri Lanka, I think they made it a point to give Maxwell a lot of bowling.
Yeah.
So that is coming off, but Maxwell cannot be leading the bowling attack in terms of looking for control. Today, the way Hazelwood, there wasn't much swing. So okay, it's understandable if there's not much swing. So you should ask your bowlers to bowl with control, and with Stark you will not get it. But for Hazelwood to bowl the way that he did today, they were feeding Kusal Pereira on his strengths. There was decent enough bounce and they were giving him enough room. So there are concerns. The good thing for again Australia is that Pakistan don't have a top three that can punish as much as what Kusal Pereira did today. So that's something that might save them. But there are still areas that should worry Australia.
Okay, let's of course reflect the match summary for you guys because, like I said, Australia clinical in their performance today at Lucknow and getting the job done by 5 wickets. And like Gurkirat has been alluding to, everything kind of came off Australia's way, including Adam Zampa getting a 4 for. Cummins back amongst the wicket, and I think he inflicted a run out as well. So it bodes well for Australia. And like Nick's mentioned, Joss Inglis with that all-important 50. And not to forget Maxwell's cameo at the bat as well. I think he enjoys playing against Sri Lanka in World Cups. Speaking of Sri Lanka, I think now they have the most defeats for a team in ODI World Cup history, 42. Lots of those stats available on cricket.com right now, so go check it out. It's part of the live blog, and it's absolutely fantastic. Right, before I get further into conversations, taking questions as well, a reflection of the points table, guys, and what, of course, will show you, beg your pardon, sorry about that. Yeah, Australia and Sri Lanka, they might be languishing at the bottom of the pack, but I'm sure onwards and upwards. Like I said, for Australia and Sri Lanka, only time will tell when they will break their jinx. Remember, they enjoyed such a long streak in terms of ODI cricket, 14, I think it was, before that Asia Cup defeat. But now they have to really worry about the rest of the World Cup. We met a couple of Sri Lankan fans as well, which will, of course, shed light on as we go forward. But as you can see, the points table right in front of you, Australia and Sri Lanka still there, but Australia getting those 2 important points to get their campaign and kick-starting their campaign, if I must say. Right, let's go into the turning point. But before that, of course, always it is a top performer. Right, top performer then. Nikhil, who was it? Was it Adam Zampa? Was it English? I'm guessing it was Zampa because he's got his mojo back.
Yeah, Zampa, especially the way he started, and Australia, Australia wanted him to take a lot of wickets, and Sri Lanka have struggled against leg spin. So for him to come back after that tough start uh, and to take four, and again the variation and the way he mixed up his googly and the bowling that even to the ball to Chamika Karunaratne, it was so plumb that the batter did not even bother discussing with the other end. It was that
Yeah.
obvious by out, like no point wasting a review. So Australia will be buoyed by that. There will be more tests for Zampa. I think there is an issue with his hip, which I think is starting. I hope he's fit enough to play more games. We'll want to hear from him as well. What's the status on that? Because that could be very, very crucial. They do not have any other spinner, and that could be really going a long way if we expect the decks to start assisting spin. So that will be a major cause of concern if he is not fit enough. So for today, it was Adam Zampa, rightly adjudged the player of the match as well. And yeah, hard to look past him. Marsh had a good 50, so did English, but the game was set up by Zampa.
Okay, and Zampa, in fact, has spoken to, of course, the broadcasters about his performance today. I'll give you a couple of quotes. And the most pertinent quote, Gurkirat, is the fact that he says, my job in this team is to take wickets in the middle order. Honestly, there are roles being defined for every player in this World Cup. But from Adam Zampa's perspective, you just mentioned it, sometimes Maxwell kind of saves his bacon. It's super important in a subcontinental World Cup that he regains his form and quickly, right?
Yeah, again, and now he faces another opponent who we have seen they don't really go after spin, especially that top three. And Rizwan also in the last game, if the situation is such that he needs to bat through, he also avoids taking risks. So that might just allow Zampa to find a length and then bowl accordingly. Sometimes when you are bowling to batters who can punish even a small error, as a bowler you're already thinking of the mistake, or you're trying to be on the defensive. So with Pakistan that may not happen for Zampa unless something comes out of syllabus, and all of us are taken aback. But it's a good game in that regard. So but we don't know what's the status of his back spasm, because he mentioned it. I was reading a comment by Santosh Uddappa as well that he has a back spasm, so maybe he's not landing it well. So let's see. But I think that Pakistan game is also important in that sense for Zampa, that if he bowls, he may not be under that much pressure, because Pakistan batters will bat like that.
Nikhil Baju also going on to add, saying Zampa has back and hip niggles. Otherwise, he's been the best ODI spinners for 3 years right now. Just on the topic of spin, before we, of course, saw this game, we automatically think maybe Sri Lanka will have their say, Nikhil. But where did they go wrong for them? And you could probably highlight that more in the turning point, which is the next segment in this review. So what was it? Their capitulation after a brilliant start, because Kusal Pereira gave me vibes of Jayasuriya against Brett Lee and Glenn McGrath and all of that. But how did they lose a game from going 125 for no loss to losing by 5 wickets?
Yeah, I think it is something I'm sure Paji will touch upon about Tisanka converting starts. And he had a great chance to do that. But that dismissal, the short ball to Cummins, and again, it was Cummins who got the first 2 wickets. So that was the X factor coming good right through there. And that was the 2 wickets. Getting Nisanka first with the short one, field set in the deep, and then getting Kusal with the one that probably just held its line, maybe max. So those 2 wickets they fell, and you always knew that this is not a surface where it's going to be easier to start on, because it was doing a bit, may not do a lot, but just enough is also good enough. So uh, that's where you felt probably the three, fours, and fives will come good. I will not talk about Sadira's dismissal, because then I will not stop. So I'll ask Paji to take over there. But at the turning point, definitely was those Cummins twin strikes, because from there on, Australia just kept putting a lot more pressure on Sri Lanka, and they just capitulated versus Zampa.
You agree, Paji?
See, I feel the idea for both the openers once they'd gotten in was right. That they felt that now they could actually put pressure on Australia. So if you look at it, both of them got out playing attacking strokes. And that is something which can happen if you are looking to press the pedal. So I'm not really sure if that was very wrong of the openers. But yeah, I feel the turning point is that third and the fourth wicket. Kusal Mendes getting out because he has been in great form, and he again, had he gotten his eye in, he was very well capable of then accelerating at the end because he's been batting so well. And that Sadira dismissal, in fact, you know the way the ball tracking is working, it's on course to give a controversial decision in knockouts. It is right on course to, because that dismissal, it felt that firstly, yes, I also felt that it shouldn't have been out. To give it out on the field was something which was questionable because you could see two stumps, and then for it to return, umpire's call did not make sense to me. I felt it should have missed. Warner's dismissal again today, he, Johnny Bairstow's dismissal yesterday, and before that, that Smith LBW, something's wrong with the ball tracking for sure. It is going to come back and bite one of the teams in the knockouts, and we don't know which team will it be. The worst thing is it could happen to India, and then India can't even complain because India are the hosts. So, because see, at the same time, however, some accountability needs to come on the shoulders of umpires as well. With the technology coming in, a lot of umpires have just let go of taking any accountability and they just want to play it safe. You saw Gurbaz's run out yesterday. He was so far out. I mean, it didn't really make any sense to go to the third umpire, but umpires still do it because the on-field umpires really don't have any accountability. That umpire's call just takes it away from them. So yeah, some decision making has to be better, and this is one of the reasons why when people say, "Oh, you should go to the technology for that soft signal or those catches," this is one of the reasons you really can't rely on it also 100%. So this is something which will keep happening, and it needs to be corrected some way or the other. I am not sure what the solution is because the Hawkeye, whosoever provides that technology, is finalized before the tournament. There are two or three companies only who do it. So maybe they need to have a word with the company that probably you need to work on your software or whatever. But a lot of these LBWs are not really LBWs.
And I think Nikhil also spoke about it with Akshay and me in the Monday Night Live. So I'm not going to ask Nikhil about the umpiring howlers that we've seen so far, or the DRS howlers. But in fact, I'm going to ask Nikhil Pratik's question because he goes on to ask us boys about Maxwell's bowling. I think he's always been a decent bowler in one internationals, most on the subcontinental conditions. However, he's not been that effective in T20 internationals. International franchise thoughts?
I think it will be something that I want to look at in terms of his T20I numbers as compared to ODIs. But you can see where he comes good in ODIs because he's a very accurate guy. So he's not leaving the stumps very often, and he's getting good spin as well from the surface. So if that is happening, and if you make a mistake, which is what happened, say in the India game or in the previous game that they played against South Africa, if you make an error, he's there and thereabouts to always catch you off guard. I think that is something that always works in his favor, where you may say that maybe he's buying a few wickets in terms of giving away a few runs in exchange of some wickets there. But in T20s, because you're always attacking, I'm now very keen to see that what are his pitch maps, and if there is something to read out, because then that will make a very good conversation that is he bowling in the same place where he does in the ODS, because that could tell us a lot that whether it's just batters attacking or him maybe not having enough other options in T20s as opposed to ODIs, where in ODIs he can wait, and that is the biggest virtue, that in ODIs he also has time, that he has wait, he can wait, and because he knows The batter can't do it. He's not going to do it every ball. So that's where a lot of that game also pans out, that you're playing mind games with the batter, that okay, now he'll go, now he'll not go. So that is probably something that maybe doesn't help you in T20s. So let's see. It is something that I'll want to keep an eye on, at least in T20s.
Okay, let's take Santosh's question because it's a good one. I'm thinking to myself, Sri Lanka had Australia, what, 81 for 3, chasing 215. Does he have a point here, Gurkirat? Maybe just strangle them with spin more, or do you think Kusal Mendes missed a trick?
I mean, they could have, it could have been Tikshana or it could have even been Veralage, because Veralage had also has had Marsh in trouble. But yeah, that one over that he bowled to Marsh, he got hit for three boundaries. The lengths were poor, bold shot. So yeah, it's just that Marsh was. I think some credit also has to be given to Marsh because
Yeah.
after what happened yesterday, Australia were not sure if the dew will come or when it will come. So they've figured out that if the track turns out to be slower, we maybe have to make use of the power play. And Marsh's intent was clear. He was just backing himself because you saw that first ball. It's not a T20 game. First ball it was there. He felt it's in my slot, so he just hit it. So some credit has to be given to Marsh. And like I was saying, that once you know the batter is out there to attack you, those mistakes can happen because you know that the margin is very less. So maybe Velalage felt that if he tries to bowl quicker and short, he could really cramp Marsh for room or rush him. But Marsh has a few weaknesses in his game, but being rushed for pace is not one of them. He's not those batters you can rush for pace, which I'm sure even Lahiru Kumara would have realized after today. It's not something international bowlers who've played enough should be realizing it at the international stage. But still, there's just you cannot be looking to rush Marsh with pace. You provide him pace, he will make you pay. It's something teams will find out if they haven't really found out sooner or later. Just on that Maxwell bit, I agreed with what Pranav Anand was saying, that I feel he's taken that confidence from T20s, because in T20s, from what whenever I've seen him bowl, he's actually looked to bowl fast, quick, and defensive.
Mm.
You've not seen Maxwell bowl his 3 or 4 overs and go at nines or tens. At worst, he goes for eights, which is something you will take in T20s if it's a batting track. So I feel, I agree with Pranav over there. Roles are different. See, if a
Yeah.
part timer has been brought in for a matchup purpose in a T20 game, you may not always look for wickets. You may just
Yeah.
look for a tight over. So if you can deliver
Yeah.
that tight over, then well and good.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember, Sri Lanka do, of course, play Netherlands next, so hopefully they can break their streak there, which is, of course, on the 21st, I think, before Australia Pakistan happens in Bangalore. And I think Sri Lanka do ply their trade once again in Lucknow. I think Australia now move on to Bangalore, and that's how it's going to be. Nix, is this a day then where Australia will really think about it from their World Cup campaign starting actually properly right now? Because I think even Gurkirat mentioned in the previous Australia review that if they get a couple of wins, you can't write them off because ultimately they're the five-time world champions, right?
Yeah, and I think this game is even more crucial because you look at the people who have come good. Cummins not among the wickets, he's taken two. Zampa not among a lot of wickets, he's taken four. And who scored runs? Marsh scored runs, not among the runs in the previous games. Great for him. You had English score runs coming into the side, lot of doubts on keeping and stuff. He's getting runs, which is good to see. So they are now ticking the boxes that they wanted to tick previously, but there are still issues that they'll want to take care of. But this is still a better place to be. That now you've had Hazelwood come good in the past. You know what you get from Stark. So the bowling suddenly looks a bit better. There will be adapting that has to be done because today also they were 125 for 0 and they had a horrible review very first ball. So that also has to be something to be kept in mind because all of that plays a part. Now you miss out on a review on the very first ball. There was a review against Kusal Perera with again same umpire did not give it out. You will not take a risk because you don't have the umpire score in your favor, and then you miss out on a right decision not being taken because you only have one review. So all of these small factors play into part in terms of how you are thinking at that point of time. So hopefully they'll take a lot of confidence because now you see from the top six, one has scored runs. Smith has looked good, but again, Smith getting LW out very often is something that you don't see. So I'm very keen to see if he's found his hands or not in the next game. But otherwise, a lot of things now clicking for them. So good to see them back to where they are in terms of points and contribution from everyone.
Gurkira, what was the biggest highlight if you're an Australian fan today? Was it, of course, Zampa, like we touched upon? Was it the middle order getting runs? Or do you think generally now they're just coming together as a team, which is the best thing in a World Cup competition?
I think Cummings and Zampa taking wickets
Yeah,
would be something that would be the biggest highlight, because there's been a lot of pressure on Cummings as a captain, that is he the right guy to captain, and it's not just been for ODIs, it's also been for test matches. This Ashes that he played, I think three or four of his most expensive figures as a bowler came in this Ashes. Even when he took that six for, he went at 4.5 or 5 runs per over. So he's been he's been under some sort of pressure. So today's game will actually ease him up.
Yeah, I mean, Nikhil Baju saying if Smith keeps failing, they need to consider dropping him, playing Marshall 3. They're never going to drop Smith in their lives, Nikhil Baju. But you make another good point. And Gurkira, do you agree with him here? Manas Labuschagne is probably so crucial to this lineup, but that is still Australia very vulnerable. We spoke about it yesterday in the England-Afghanistan chat, how Malan or Root needs to be the glue. Do you think Manas is that glue in this batting lineup, which can be vulnerable at times, let's face it?
It's a tough one to answer, because there are two anchors that come in the lineup before Marnus, who are Warner and Smith, and you'll have to sort of agree that both of them are better than Marnus. So I'm not. I mean, if your two anchors are failing, then yeah, that luxury could work. But in terms of anchoring or a collapse arrestor, Marnus I feel is a luxury. What they really need is, what Nikhil had spoken of earlier, that you need, if Smith and Marnus are batting together, that one of them is looking to keep the scoreboard ticking. What I feel that Marnus needs to do is, like, today you still felt with the dew coming in and the target, things were far more under control, and Marsh had given you a start that you could afford to take your time. Uh, where you need Marsh to icon is like how what happened in that India game. He'd gotten a start. Smith had got out to a good ball, and you knew that if you get to 240, you could really, be in the driver's seat in that game. But and it's one thing to get out; it's completely another to how you get out. That shot that he played to Jadeja on that pitch
yeah,
was never on, and you expect better from a batter who you've brought in to bring in solidity.
yeah.
So today he did his job well, but I'm not so sure if we can say that in general. And I don't think an ODI team needs more than two anchors. I know it's a long format. What you need are more dynamic batters. At this point of time, they don't have anyone else, so they'll stick with Marnus. But Marnus, when he's gotten, he needs to convert those starts. It's going to be very important in this World Cup that at least one of the top four batters, when they've gotten in, they have to convert. Without that, teams will struggle. Today, you saw two batters score a 60 and a 70, but the team still ended up with 200. Not saying that it's their fault. Obviously, the other eight should have done well, but yeah, it just sort of explains why a set batter batting through is so important.
Sometimes
And it's
here, cricket.
actually,
Go on.
just sorry to cut you. It's just how apt that 2 days prior to this, uh, people are discussing whether Babar and Rizwan took too much time or were too solid for their team, and then they lost wickets, and then could not come back. So, your anchors are going to be tested while batting first, and if they are chasing a score where the rate is about 6 or 5.5 on tough decks, so that is where pacing the innings at the right time is very crucial. As Paji said, if you get in, you have to make it count. You can't just make a 35-40 and just hope that somebody else will do the job. So let's see how that catches up.
By the way,
Yeah.
we might be the few in minority who actually feel that both Babar and Rizwan batted well that day.
Yeah,
I, I
possibly.
s- I still maintain that they did the best that they could have done given the conditions, the pitch, and the bowling
Yeah,
they had to face. It's very important to realize what bowling they were facing. It's easy to say, oh, they did not really look for boundaries, but how many boundary opportunities did come their way?
yeah,
Rizwan was trying to manufacture a few.
yeah,
Babar actually drove Shardul for a couple, but
yeah,
Kuldeep hardly left his length.
yeah,
So you can't really
yeah.
do anything in that case.
Yeah.
It's an important point that you make, and we cricket.com do things differently here. We go for two dynamic experts and one anchor. If you guys know, you guys know. And by the way, look, Santosh Urupa, you have to, of course, give yourself a pat on the back
Yep.
because I know you're an Australian fan, and we slander the Australian fans. Not the Australian fans, but we stand the Australian team against South Africa for dropping whatever 6 or 7 catches that they dropped. So well done for them holding on to their catches. And I love Paras Arota's comment here, Gurkirat, because he touches a good point where we can probably wrap proceedings on this match review. Now that Chennai and Lucknow are done in terms of venues for them, do you think they will actually look at this competition now much more optimistically? They're playing in Bangalore, and now they can probably play at surfaces which will suit them better. What do you think?
You'd hope so. See, it's funny how these perceptions change, because if you had I remember the day schedule came out, so many Indian fans were saying, why are you playing Australia in Chennai given India had lost to Australia in Chennai? So that Agar absence had a lot to play. I still feel maybe if Agar was there, Australia could have competed better versus South Africa also. It was not something wherein Australia were completely out of the game. But yes, now they play Pakistan in Bangalore, a surface that they should like. And I think after that they play Netherlands, or which team are they playing?
Yeah. Netherlands in Delhi.
Yeah, Netherlands again. But now we can't. After yesterday, we can't say if Delhi will turn or not. But one thing is certain. One thing is certain. Dharamshala, Delhi, Lucknow. Ball will swing in the evening because it started to get colder. Today,
Let's see.
the entire day breeze was slow. There's just a cool enough breeze to keep the mercury down in Delhi. The ball was swinging yesterday. The ball swung today in the evening in Lucknow. The same will happen in Dharamshala. Australia have a day game versus New Zealand in Dharamshala. It's a day game, but I still feel that the ball will swing at least in the morning. So Australia versus Netherlands in Delhi should win. I think the game that they have versus England in Ahmedabad,
Ahmedabad.
it could actually turn to be a virtual quarterfinal, deciding who takes that fourth spot. It could happen that way.
Okay. Guys, thank you so much for your time because look, I've just done 2 shows. I've got off a flight. I'm knackered. I'm so hungry. And I'm sure there's lots more you guys can check out on cricket.com, the app and the website. Gurkirat and Nikhil, are we quickly expecting another upset tomorrow, Netherlands, South Africa? Yes, no?
No,
South
we are
Africa
not.
ने upset, no chance भाई किधर गलत गलत channel.
Galat channel. Okay, fine, cool. Thank you guys so much. Nikhil, absolute sport as ever. Like me doing the Monday Night Live and then jumping onto this one. And good Kirat, God
You
bless
can
you
treat
and the
you,
rest of your week.
you
Sorry,
can
what
treat
I,
yourself with some good food today. What are you ordering?
dude, I was gonna go Australian, so something cilantro maybe, or maybe I'll just listen to the man down under and things like that and get my World Cup hopes up and running. That's all we have time for. A lot of bakchodi, but a lot of stats and insights from the boys, of course. As always, join us tomorrow in our preview at 1:25 p.m. for the Netherlands South Africa game, and that'll be some game as well. Hopefully, we can get a thriller. That's all we have. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, and we'll see you soon. Have a fantastic week ahead. We'll catch you shortly.
Cheers. Don't watch. Cheer and out.